Welcome to the beloved community known as UU Amherst. I'm Reverend Michelle Buhite, the minister of this congregation since 2015. My pronouns, which I offer to create a truly brave space for all to live into the fullness of their identities, are she and her. I am so glad that you have chosen to make UU Amherst a part of your day and a part of your week. And who knows? Maybe for your life. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation committed to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, individually and as a community of faith. As our 16th century ancestor, Francis David, is purported to have claimed, we need not think alike to love alike. In a world that is increasingly polarized, we are an oasis of love and acceptance. Our opening words this morning come from Unitarian Universalist minister Angela Herrera. These are our opening words, not because they are necessarily meant to open worship, but because they are meant to open us. They're meant to open our hearts and our minds to the possibility that we all are worthy, all finding our place in the family of things. So I'm going to read these opening words in the style of a spiritual practice known as Lectio Divina, which is Latin for divine reading. This practice slows us down and lets the written and spoken word make the gentle journey from our heads down into our hearts. I will offer the reading a first time, followed by a time of quiet. I was about to say silence, but I don't think silence is possible for us. So a time of relative quiet and expectation. And then I will offer the reading again. I find that when I'm not doing the reading, when I'm doing the listening, that it helps to either close my eyes or perhaps go into soft focus down, if you're looking at the back of the seat in front of you. But just so that you are not clicking into all the things that are happening within and beyond our space here. So put your eyes the way you like them, and I will, again, read this through twice with a time of quiet between. Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs vision. Bring them with you, and your joy, and your passion. Bring your loving, and your courage, and your conviction. Bring your need for healing, and your powers to heal. There is work to do, and you have all that you need to do it right here in this room. Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs vision. Bring them with you, and your joy, and your passion. Bring your loving, and your courage, and your conviction. Bring your need for healing, and your powers to heal. There is work to do, and you have all that you need to do it right here in this room. It is our custom when we gather to light a flaming chalice. The chalice is a cup or a vessel that symbolizes the gathered community, and the flame represents the spark that each one of us brings. It also represents the light of truth, the warmth of commitment, community, and the fire of our commitment to bring more compassion and justice to the world. Rennie is going to light our chalice, and I invite you to join me in our chalice lighting words. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Rennie, you'll find another small candle right by the stones. Do you see that? Because we're going to light a second candle today in memory of those lost a year ago in the Jefferson Avenue Tops Massacre. So if you would light that small candle and just place it in the sand next to the chalice. Thank you. The shock, terror, and pain of that day continue to reverberate through the community, as well as the solidarity, support, and hope that has surged in its wake. As my friend and colleague, Reverend Chris Bice, said in the wake of the 2008 shooting in his church, he said, "A man came into this space with a desire to do an act of hatred, but he has unleashed unspeakable amounts of love." May our community continue to feel and multiply unspeakable amounts of love. Some of you are familiar with this song. It's not in any of the hymnals. It's a song by John Denver. And it's known as sort of a zipper song. So it starts out with all this joy, and then it will go to city of, once we've sung all of. And once we've sung all of the city of, we'll sing it as world of, and we'll return to all this. So those of you who are familiar with it, go ahead and join right from the beginning. For those of you who are learning it, I'll give relative pitch. And let's sing this as a prayer for our community and our community. All this joy, all this sorrow, all this promise, all this pain, such is life, such is being, such is spirit, such is life. City of joy, city of sorrow, city of promise, city of pain, such is love. softly as a prayer. All this joy, all this sorrow, all this promise, all this pain, such is life, such is being, such is spirit, such is love, such is spirit, such is spirit, such is love. Each week as we light the chalice to symbolize the gathered community, we also acknowledge that our church is built on holy ground, ground that was first cultivated and occupied by the Haudenosaunee and those known as the neutrals. We honor them as the original keepers of the land. And so, we offer this libation as our giveaway, a symbol of our respect for and deep connection with the land. May we be good stewards of the land and courageously cultivate community with all living things. Together, we weave a tapestry of reverence and belonging. Thanks, Rennie. Our song of intention this morning can be found in the Teal hymnal. It's number 1023. The lyrics will be projected up front. That's all the lyrics, so you can't get lost by me fumbling the slides. That's a win. So we are going to continue to weave a tapestry of belonging. And for those of you who know my codes, that means we're going to sing around. This is going to be awesome. So we're going to sing it through once, all together, in case you're thinking, I don't even know this song. You will in 1 minute. And then we're going to break into rounds because we live dangerously here. All together. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Group one. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. You're good. Thank you, Gregory, for bringing a moment of sunlight in a very minor song. Thank you, leaders. Thank you. Extended choir, you're all members of the choir. We'll have rehearsals sometime in the future. We are a beloved community, a gathering of people who have chosen to journey together, to encourage one another, and to be part of something important and life-changing. Because we aspire to be such a people, we make bold promises about how we will be with one another. Whether today is your first time or you've made UU Amherst your longtime home, you are invited to share in our sacred promise. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. I hope that by this point in the service you are feeling relaxed and welcomed. We've greeted one another, shared moments of reverence, woven a bit of music magic, and paused to remember a tragedy that will continue to reverberate throughout our community, possibly for generations. The beginning of the Sunday service is much more than the setup for the sermon. In fact, if anything, the sermon is simply an offering of ideas that follows the main attraction, connecting. Connection to one another, to your sense of what is of ultimate importance, what some people call God, and connecting to what I call deep self, that place of truth and possibility within us. In that spirit, I offer a reading by Becky Davis entitled, "Even in the most broken places, there is room for love." Because in addition to being the anniversary of a tragic moment in our community, it is also Mother's Day. And for anyone who has had a mother, or is the mother of a mother, this day can be a wee bit complicated. Mother's Day is complicated. Joyful for many, yes, but complicated. It's right there on the calendar, even if your mother has died. Even if you've been told yet again that you're still not pregnant, or if you've never been more scared than you are right now because you are pregnant, it's Mother's Day. Even if your own mother's priorities included everything but you, there is going to be a Mother's Day Google Doodle with flowers and pink stuff. Even if you have scars, ones you can see or ones you can't, it's Mother's Day. That cake mix commercial is going to roll out 4 times an hour, even when you can't stop shaking and crying because you can't believe you slapped your little boy. It's Mother's Day. And we all have to live with that in those silent, breathless moments, because even when the baby dies, it's Mother's Day. And so let's go to church. Let's be a church where we can acknowledge how difficult it is to have this day right alongside how difficult it is to be part of this joyful day. Let's be a church where we don't pretend there aren't inky depths of space between us, even when we sing. Let's be a church that fills the space between our differences with love. Because even in the most broken places, there is room for love. We can be that church. You see, I believe we come to church to be connected, to find our center, to be reminded that we are part of something much larger than ourselves, and that we are held in a love that defies our understanding. And so we bear witness to one another's joy and pain. We make room in the circle and in our hearts for all that we bring. You'll note that this table where we acknowledge our joy and pain is round. It's a gathering place. Even as you bring your individual hopes and cares, you are part of a circle of love. And so gather round, exchange a glance, a smile, an encouraging touch. We can let go of neat lines and cues. We can just embrace the messiness of community. And so come forward and place your stone or shell on the labyrinth in honor of all that you bring.
May the beauty before me open my eyes to see. May the beauty above and below me set my soul free. May the beauty inside me wake me up to feel the beauty between you and me is real. And may I be complete within my open circle. May I be willing to see some hope in a broken world. May I be like this tree, standing in the center of my circle. I am solid on the ground, and I know I'm not alone. May the beauty before me open my eyes to see. May the beauty above and below me set my soul free. May the beauty inside me wake me up to feel the beauty between you and me is real. And may I be complete within my open circle. May I be willing to see some hope in a broken world. May I be like this tree, standing in the center of my circle. I am solid on the ground, and I know I'm not alone.
Let's share a few breaths as we expand our circle to include those who may not be present, but whom we carry in our hearts. Those who are ill, those who are in pain either in body or spirit, those who are lonely, those who are overwhelmed and feeling lost, those who have been wronged. We are part of a web of life that makes us one with all humanity, one with all the universe. We are grateful for the miracle of consciousness that we share, the consciousness that gives us the power to remember, to love, and to care. May it ever be so in our lives. For those who are close to the front, I'll give myself a little tour. You might recognize the image on this stole. Anybody get it? It's Wonder Woman, yes. Yes. Right here, Wonder Woman, believe it. Oh boy. Moms are complicated. Having one, being the mother of one. I should know, I fit all the categories. My mom died in 2020. Dementia had claimed her mind during the 10 years before, and COVID claimed her body. It's weird not to have a mom anymore. But of course, I still have a mom. She's just not here. I don't personally believe that she is waiting to greet me in some heavenly place, but her presence is definitely felt. Sometimes she likes to speak through my mouth. That's complicated too. I am mom to a grown daughter who is also a mom. She is mom to identical twin girls who are adorable. They are 2.5. They're really more like bear cubs, cute, but not domesticated. And tomorrow afternoon, she will be mom to another little girl. It would not offend me if you were to send good thoughts her way as Aria Lucille is born. Aria, Sienna, and Sonnet are the daughters of Asherah, who is the daughter of Michelle, who is the daughter of Nancy, who is the daughter of Clara Marie, who is the adopted daughter of Ruth, and the daughter of Emma, who is the daughter of Maria. And that's as far back as I've been able to trace my maternal roots back to Sweden in 1816. I have found that Swedish lineage is much more complicated to trace than my paternal English lineage in 15th century Scotland. None of the women in my family are known for big things. My grandmother, Clara, is the second one in. The one at the short one, that's my Aunt Hazel, one of my grandmother's birth siblings. And they met as adults and became best friends and thought it was cute to dress alike, too. And the other half is, of course, me with spectacular platform shoes and my mom and dad. So my grandmother, Clara, gave piano lessons. And when I still lived in Jamestown, not so long ago, I would have people come up to me in the grocery store and tell me how learning to play piano under Clara's encouraging instruction made them better people. Was it piano? Was it Clara? I suspect the answer is yes. My mom defined herself by her work. From her first job at 14, making cottage cheese in a neighbor's basement. She didn't do that for too long. The smell of the cottage cheese made her sick. All the way to her retirement as a bank officer at 56, Nancy was a worker. She worked at church, where her bossiness, leadership qualities, were put to good use, organizing events and people. She carried those qualities in her retirement, teaching and organizing mahjong tournaments at their Florida retirement community. And I guess you'll have to come back in 30 years to find out what Asherah will say about her mother and what Michelle was known for. All of this wondering about the women in my family and what they're known for made me think about Unitarian Universalism, because everything makes me think about Unitarian Universalism. We hear about men like Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, Michael Servetus, and John Murray, but what about the women? There are many noteworthy women who have defined and broadened our faith as well as advancing social change. And I'm thinking of Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Clara Barton, to name just a few. Those women were out in front, movers and shakers, leaders. But what about the Clara Maries and the Nancys? The women who, for whatever reason, remained in the background, quietly doing the work of mothering our faith. So a moment ago, I mentioned John Murray, credited as being the father of American Universalism. He is honored in stories of mythic proportions for coming to America in the 1700s to leave behind a life of misery in England. The story goes that this Universalist minister lost his family to fever, was then thrown into debtor's prison, and ultimately left England vowing to never preach again. But through a series of events that involved a ship, a sandbar off the coast of New Jersey, a man named Thomas Potter, an empty chapel, and a lack of wind, he ended up preaching universalism in what was considered then the New World. And he is famous for admonishing, go out into the highways and byways, give the people something of your new vision. You may possess a small light, but uncover it, let it shine, use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of men and women. Give them not hell, but hope and courage, and preach the kindness and everlasting love of God. But what about the woman he fell in love with and married after that fateful series of events? What of the second Mrs. Murray? Judith Sargent Murray was a remarkable woman in her own right. Born in 1751 in Gloucester, Massachusetts, Judith early on recognized gender inequality as her younger brother Winthrop was educated in the classical tradition, and even though she was quite as intelligent as he, her schooling was cut short since she was female. Primarily self-taught, Judith believed that with quality education, women's accomplishments would equal those of men. She believed women would succeed in life for two reasons: education and parents who raised their daughters to reverence themselves, as she put it in one of her essays. Why? Someone has arrived. I think it's Judith.
Oh, how kind of you. Yes, well, I was at least as intelligent as little Winnie. Happily, my father recognized my aptitude and allowed me to continue my studies at home. Of course, I was expected to fit my reading into my housekeeping and other duties. We all understand that it is up to women to maintain hearth and home and squeeze in reading and keeping up with current affairs as well. I've always been a student of history and have enjoyed using examples of women's accomplishments dating to ancient times to prove my points and to provide leadership in what would become a long struggle for women to fulfill their potential and become fully empowered members of society. How could we possibly know what a long and difficult road that would be? I am, if I do say so, a prolific writer and have published many works under various pseudonyms. Of course, I had to employ male pseudonyms so that readers would take my words seriously, not simply writing them off as the ravings of a woman. Your modern resource, Wikipedia, notes that my 3-volume, 1798 book of essays and plays titled The Gleaner established me as a leading author and intellect. I do like that word. And as an advocate for women's equality, education, and economic independence. Essays in The Gleaner also championed the New Republic, considered citizenship, virtue, and philanthropy, decried war and violence of any kind, and discussed universalism, my chosen faith. When I was 23, I began making copies of my correspondence to create a historical record for future generations. One really does need to think of those who will follow us and take up the work. These letter books, 20 volumes in all, were found in 1984 and were published on microfilm by the Mississippi Department of Archives and History, where the original volumes reside. Containing approximately 2,500 letters, my letter books make up one of the few surviving collections of writings by women from this period in American history. Perhaps I should caution you to be careful with your electronic communications. Always write thoughtfully and with future readers in mind. It is such the work of Providence that I would come to marry the man known as the father of universalism, John Murray. My father and I were some of the first people in Gloucester who first embraced universalism, with my name even included in the public documents that expelled the Gloucester Universalists from First Parish, the Calvinist Congregational Church, for refusing to attend and pay taxes to the established church. I've never thought of myself as a rebel, more as someone with leadership qualities. We took our case to the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court and won the first ruling in America for freedom of religion, meaning the right to support our own church, our own minister, and not pay taxes to First Parish. This ruling affected religious groups throughout the nation. That's what I call leadership. Of course, the minister we wanted to support in our own Universalist church was John Murray. John arrived in the colonies in 1770 and settled in Gloucester in 1774. When he preached, he was so charismatic and convincing. He succeeded in dismantling the dark, gloomy promises of Calvinism in favor of a more hopeful view of the present and life after. After my first husband, John Stevens, died in the West Indies, where he fled to escape debtor's prison, John and I married in 1788 in Salem, Massachusetts. At the end of my dear John's life, I helped him publish his book, Letters and Sketches of Sermons. I also edited, completed, and published his autobiography after his death. Universalist historians actually consider my involvement in Universalism among the reasons why women have always held leadership roles in the Universalist Church, including as ministers. What a thrill to have made a significant difference in the world.
Thank you, Judith. Oh, Judith, you indeed have had a significant role in shaping Universalism and our blended faith family of Unitarian Universalism. And what an impact on women's roles in Universalism, with Olympia Brown fully ordained less than 100 years after your efforts. So I felt called to ministry when I was 8 years old. That would have been in 1970, 200 years after Judith Sargent Murray's lasting impact on Universalism. When I heard the call to ministry, I was in a religious tradition that did not believe that women could be ministers. Happily, I found Unitarian Universalism, and 20 years after hearing that call, and I joined the ranks of ordained women UU ministers in 2012. In 2018, 57% of UU ministers were women, and I would think that the percentage is even higher now because many of our elder male colleagues are retiring. So we are thankful to Judith Sargent Murray and the many other women who lived and died to establish basic rights for women. We can look back with pride at how our spiritual forebears were leading the way for women's rights. In the mid-1800s, the group of women known as the Iowa Sisterhood, who demanded equal theological education to men, brought Unitarianism to what was then the American frontier of Iowa, Illinois, and Michigan. Male clergy were okay with that, as many of them preferred to stay in their big churches with big budgets in New England. The women of the Iowa Sisterhood supported one another and built churches that also functioned as community centers. Yes, there were theological sermons on Sundays, but the rest of the week, the building was used to promote literacy, to teach life skills like cooking and maintaining a household, and understanding the politics of the time, having just come through the American Civil War. Many modern Unitarian Universalist churches look like the churches of the frontier. Just last week, I had the occasion to visit the UU congregation of Erie, Pennsylvania, for our former intern, Christina Church's, installation as their settled minister. One of that congregation's most important community outreach ministries is a memory cafe, creating a space of respite and connection for people with dementia and their caregivers. Just getting together for coffee and conversation and maybe a board game twice a month is a tremendous gift to the community and an important ministry of that congregation. And of course, women's leadership in our faith extends much farther back with, sorry, I just jumped spaces. Here we go. In 2017, the General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association welcomed our first woman president. The previous two administrations had been men of color, more firsts in what had been a predominantly white male office. If you're keeping score, 2017 is 240 years after Judith Sargent Murray had an impact on Universalism, and even married the man who is known as the father of American Universalism. So by extension, we shall call her mother. And of course, women's leadership in our faith extends much further back, with all of those Claras and Nancys doing the often unnoticed and underappreciated work of weaving community. For those of you who are new to Unitarian Universalism, or even long-timers who are not tuned into the national scene, you should know that Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, pictured here, is at the end of her term as our association president. These 6 years have been important ones for Unitarian Universalism to be out in front, challenging and countering the wave of white Christian nationalism that has consumed this country. So I'm going to share with you a small portion of Reverend Frederick Gray's address to the General Assembly in June of 2017 as she was beginning her time in office, term. Thank you.
This is a defining moment. This is a time of incredible challenge for this country, for the planet, and for our faith. I do not believe that we can fully know what the next 4 or 6 years will look like. And so in this time, we need leadership that is prepared. To the presidency, I bring leadership forged in the fire of defining times. 9 years ago, when I accepted the call to serve the UU congregation of Phoenix, I knew that immigrant rights would be core to our justice work. What I didn't know was that Phoenix and Arizona were about to become the epicenter of a national crisis. In 2010, when Arizona passed SB 1070, the most punitive anti-immigrant law seen in a generation, I called on Unitarian Universalists to come to Phoenix to fortify the movement led by young, undocumented leaders of color. And we did. You did. We showed up like no other faith community. Over 2 years, including the powerful Justice General Assembly, thousands and thousands of Unitarian Universalists showed up to help resist the human rights abuses unfolding under Sheriff Joe Arpaio. And today, Sheriff Joe Arpaio is just Mr. Joe Arpaio. And Tent City Jail is closing. We were not the leaders of this movement, but we showed up as faithful witnesses to fortify and flank the movement. This is who we are. This is who we are when we are at our best. For we are a people of faith, and our faith is love. And we know, just as Dr. Cornel West says, that justice is what love looks like in public. Now, SB 1070 also created conflict within the UUA. The question of whether or not to boycott Phoenix as the site of GA felt like it might split us apart. But through that conflict, the Board of Trustees created the accountability group of leaders from marginalized identity groups in the UUA. We modeled in Justice GA a stronger practice of collaboration both within and beyond the UUA, and it made all the difference. And it is a model for what we need to do in the future. Coming to Phoenix was the harder road. It asked more of us, but it also showed us a new way of living our faith beyond business as usual to faithful spiritual leadership grounded in partnership and organized for impact. As I worked on Justice GA for the UUA, there were times when internal conflict and politics threatened to negotiate the mission right out of the room. And to this, I brought clear strategic skills to keep us focused on the mission. And I also saw an opportunity for the UUA to be more effective in dealing with our opaque power structure, moving past silos of power around a clear and compelling mission for how our faith can meet this moment. In the times like we face today, we need clear strategic and relational leadership. We need leadership that understands the fire and can listen for the way forward. But the good news, we have been readying for this moment, and we are up for it.
Yeah, I know. Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, our association president during a time of intense turmoil in our country, and she has been a remarkable leader and has been a weaver, creating something new in how the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, does business. She's changed us. As I noted, she will finish her term this June at the General Assembly of our association, and we will welcome our next president, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt. Reverend Betancourt has run uncontested, which is a bit unusual, but I think it speaks volumes as to the spiritual growth of American Unitarian Universalism and our commitment to diversity. Yeah, I said it, spiritual growth. It's nothing less than the moving of our collective spirit that has brought us within the space of one generation to lifting up people of color, to lifting up women and acknowledging and appreciating the gifts women bring. So let me tell you just a little bit about Reverend Dr. Betancourt. She's a minister, educator, scholar, vocalist, poet, fiber artist, and change maker. I'm tired now just saying all of that. Her work in the world and her practice of Unitarian Universalism are informed by the beliefs that building mutual accountable relationships with one another allows us to live our values more fully every day. As the child of immigrants from Panama and Chile and grandchild of a seventh-generation Unitarian, she knows the strength that comes from building lasting community at the meeting point of difference. She has served as a religious educator, a parish minister, a seminary professor, interim co-president of the Unitarian Universalist Association in a time of great upheaval in our movement, and countless volunteer roles within the association. She is an unabashed Universalist. The teachings of unearned grace and all-embracing love, relational accountability, and dignity that surpasses all violent forms of oppression lie at the core of her understanding of living and service in the faithful community. We are living in uncertain times. We may not feel it as much here in Western New York as our siblings do, perhaps in Alabama or Mississippi or Texas or Montana, where women's access to health care has been legislated out. But none of us are immune to the many ways hatred and fear impact a community. Today is the one-year anniversary of the Jefferson Avenue Tops Massacre. A devastating reminder that our core values of universal love and unearned grace are not only countercultural, they are desperately needed in a hurting world. On this Mother's Day, I hear the voices of the ancestors, the mothers and grandmothers of our faith. Don't worry, guys, Father's Day's coming. I will lift you up. I hear our ancestors urging us to use our powers to foster more compassion and justice in our communities and in the world. I have to let you know right now that we are going to go 5 minutes over. For those of you who are having a caffeine moment, it's okay. We will get there together. Because I want to share with you another small video clip of Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt singing with Emma's Revolution, which if you have not introduced yourself to the music of Emma's Revolution, you just get yourself to the YouTube machine and enjoy some serious, wonderful music. But this song's really special, and I offer it to you, I hope. There we go.
Send in 1,000 grandmothers, they will surely volunteer with their ancient wisdom they will lend a loving ear. First they'll form a loving circle around the wounded wing, then contain the brutal beasts of war. Sweet freedom songs they'll sing, sweet freedom songs they'll sing. A lullaby much stronger than bombs and threats to kill. A force unlike we've ever seen will break the murderer's will. To the prisons we'll invite them. Most violent souls will weep when 1,000 women hold them strong and pray their souls to keep, and pray their souls to keep. Let them rock the few who steal the most and rule with youthful charms. So they'll see the damage that they do, and they'll fall into Grandma's arms. 2,000 loving arms. If you think these women are too soft to face the world at hand, then you've never known the power of love, and you fail to understand. An old woman holds a powerful force when she no longer needs to please. She can cut your shallow life to bits and bring you to your knees. We best get down on our knees and pray for 1,000 grandmothers. Will you please come volunteer? No longer tucked deep out of sight, will you bring your power here? Will you bring your power here?
We love you.
We love you.
I've been listening to that song all week, and it is now on instant replay in my head. I am the grandmother of identical twin girls, and tomorrow their sister will be born into this uncertain world. Yes, I am a mother and a grandmother, and I strive to become the kind of grandmother that Reverend Dr. Sophia and Emma's Revolution just sang about. It's not an exclusive club. This circle of elders, we may never meet or hold hands in a circle. We may only do the work that we can where we are, extending the nurturing and destructive force, the energy of the divine feminine, Earth Mother, the energy that knits the world and, paradoxically, calls the storm. And so I close this portion of the service. There are announcements afterwards. Don't scamper for the door. I close this Mother's Day service, this complicated, painful, joyful observance, with an invitation to take our places in the circle of love and connection, to participate in humanity's first religion, acknowledging and embracing that first guiding presence whose name is spoken in every tongue, Mama, Mama Gaia. Our song in response to today is one we don't sing very often, and so I'm going to invite you to remain seated for the first verse. I will sing that verse, and then you will, with great confidence, launch yourselves up to join me in verses 2 through 4. But first, it is Lady of the Season's Laughter, and see, it even tells you, don't get up yet. Oh, wrong book, Michelle. Okay. Gregory. Lady of the season's laughter, in the summer's warmth be near, when the us after. Teach our spirits not to fear. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning year. Please rise and join me as we sing. Sister of the evening starlight, in the falling shadows stay, here among us till the firelight of tomorrow's dawning ray. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning day. Mother of the generations, in whose love all life is worth, everlasting celebrations bring our labors safe to birth. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning earth. Goddess of all time's progression, stand with us when we engage, hands and hearts to end oppression, writing history's fairer page. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning age. We're going to extinguish our chalice, so please remain standing as Rennie extinguishes our chalice and we offer our traditional words. And go ahead and extinguish all three. Thank you. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. I invite you to be seated as we prepare to find out how what we have gathered in this service will take us in service out into the world. And so Marie Evans.
Good morning, I'm Marie, and I've been a member of UU Amherst since March of 2008. I've served in several leadership roles. I'm currently a director and shopper-in-chief for the Amherst Little Free Pantry. I'm a facilitator with the book club and an organizer of the Theater Lovers outings to Jewish Repertory Theater's plays. I will be one of our congregation's delegates attending General Assembly next month. As you heard, that's our annual national denominational business meeting and conference. So here are some ways you can participate in the life of this congregation. The Network of Religious Communities 40th Annual Appreciation Dinner is coming up on June 1st. UU Amherst will be honoring our own Mickey Tannehill and Ron Palmieri. The dinner is at the M Hotel, formerly the Millennium, next to Galleria on Walden. If you would like to attend, place a check for $60 made out to the Network of Religious Communities. Put a Post-it on it with your name, vegetarian or regular dinner choice, and place it in the orange plastic folder in the canvas mailbox in the hallway outside the living room down the hallway. Any questions, see Karen Thompson. The playground is available for children's use with parental supervision, so parents must accompany children to the playground. Before leaving, rewind the swings around the poles and make sure the space is tidy for the daycare's use. See the church newsletter, The Forward, for information regarding upcoming services and events. Hard copies can be found in the lobby. The digital version is on our website, uuamherst.org. And I am now going to invite Bruce Becker to come up and say a few words about an upcoming event.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Secretary of the Board of Trustees. I'm here today as your chef-in-chief to announce that the annual all-church picnic will be held on Sunday, June 11th, following the service. And as part of that, we will be dedicating our new sign, which I'm sure you have all seen. We're taking good use of it today, obviously, to remember and stand and make our statement about 514. There'll be more information coming, but put June 11th on your calendars, rain or shine, no cost. We do ask for folks to bring a side dish, salad, or dessert to share. Good time will be had by all. Thank you. I will be cooking hamburgers, hot dogs, and vegetarian options.
And there we go. And of course, we would be remiss if we didn't invite you to participate in supporting the mission and ministry of UU Amherst with your financial gifts. You'll find a green basket at the back of the chapel to receive your contributions, or you can go online and give at our website, uuamherst.org, and clicking the giving link, or text your gift to the number on the screen. Your gifts and participation are important because we pick fruit from trees we did not plant. We drink water from wells we did not dig. This is as it should be, so long as we dig and plant for those who come after us. Your generous giving supports the work of this congregation. Thanks.
I invite you to rise and to share our closing blessing with one another. Travel light and travel easy. Here we go. Travel light and travel easy till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. May the road rise up to greet you as you leave your past behind. I will think about you gently, and I'll hold you nigh. Now look at one another. Travel light and easy till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. If here you have found freedom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true. And if you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. Go in peace.